want to move past simple right hand chords in order to make beautiful music? Today we're going to take an absolutely beautiful chord progression in A minor and take it from simple to a little bit more advanced with some inversions and some fills, easy for your right hand. Stay tuned to the end of this video because you will be playing an absolutely gorgeous chord progression that is going to sound great every single time, even without sheet music. My name's Rebecca and welcome to my music studio. I'm so glad that you're here. One of my favorite things is teaching beginners, whether this is your first time at the piano or you've come back after a really long time away, how to make beautiful music every single time you sit down to practice. This is a skill that I was never taught and I had to kind of teach myself, and I realized what a shame that is. If you would like this A minor chord progression broken down in a very easy way, check out this video from last week. This is going to help you from the very beginning with simple chord patterns in your right hand. But if you're ready to move past that, this is an absolutely perfect place to start. We're going to do some inversions, add some fills with the scale, and by the end of this video, you will be playing something absolutely gorgeous. So come over to the piano. I'd love to show you how this is done.
So the first thing that we're going to talk about is the key that we're going to play in today, which is the key of A minor. So I love A minor because it is a relative to C major. And what that means is that you don't play any black notes, at least in the natural form. So if we started in C major and played the scale, you'll notice I played between C and C, but only played white notes. In order to find the relative minor of any major key, the only thing that we have to do is start on the note of the major key, which in this case is C major, and we're going to go down 3 half steps. A half step is any note that is closest to your current note, whether that note is black or white. So in this case, we start on C. We're going 3 half steps to the left. So this is 1, 2, 3, and that leads us to A. So what this means is now, instead of playing between C and C, all the white notes, we're now going to play between A and A, all of the white notes. So let's start out by using just one finger and playing only white notes between A and A so that we can establish the key in our ear. That is called the natural minor. The natural minor is the exact same key signature as the major key. Now that we know that the key of A minor is all of the white notes between A and A, we can make chords in the key of A minor. And the way that we do that is we start on the first note A, and we're going to go up 3 notes. 1, 2, 3. That leads us to a C. And then we start on A again and go up 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if we hit all 3 of those together, we have our first chord. This is an A minor chord. I'm playing them with my 1, 3, and 5 finger. So then all we have to do is move our hands in the same pattern up the scale, and it'll show us all the chords in the A minor scale. So for number 1, we have an A minor chord, A, C, and E. If we build a chord on the second note of the scale, B, and move up 1, we have a diminished chord. It's B, D, and F. Our third is built on the third note of the scale, the C. Number 3 is C major. Number 4, built on the fourth note of the scale, is D minor, D, F, and A. Number 5, moving up to the 5th note, is an E minor, E, G, and B. Number 6 is a major chord. We move up 1, and that is F, A, C. That's an F major. Our last one before we get back to A is a G. That is a G major, and this is our number 7. And then we're back to 1. So you can just kind of go through there and feel all of the different chords in your left hand and your right hand if you'd like to do that as well. If you haven't caught the first portion of this video, make sure to check out part 1, and I will have it linked below so that you can understand the basics of how to move your chords for this chord progression. But for now, we're going to start with a really quick overview of the chord progression, I'm going to do all of the chords in my right hand in stacked position. So we're going to start with our A minor, which is our number 1 chord. So we have our A, C, and E. Then we're going to go to our number 6 chord, which is a major, and that is an F major. Then we're going to do our number 3 chord, which is built on C, and that is our C major chord. Then we have our minor 5, which is E minor, E, G, and B. And then we have a major 7, which is our G chord. And then our number 1 chord, again, A minor. So let's look at this whole thing. We're going to do 4 beats each of all of the different chords until we get to the minor 5 and the major 7. Then we do 2 beats each. So I'll show you. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Left hand, we are going to do a representative pattern of those same chords that we just did. So in our last video, we talked about doing just an octave, but this time we're going to add one more note, which is where your 2 finger is hovering over. So if you remember, when we originally made our stacked triads, we have the third up. We go 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have the bass note, and then we have the third and the fifth. That fifth is where we come up with that note for our number 2 finger. Okay, so we're going to start down here, and I have A, E, and A. So right now I'm going to make this pattern where we're going 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and for each of them for the 4 beats. Okay, so we'll start with that one. Then we're going to go to our F with C in the middle. Then we go to C with G in the middle. And then we go to our E minor with B in the middle. And for this one, I'm just going to go 1 and 2 and then move to G with D in the middle. 1 and 2 and then back to our A minor. So here is the whole pattern from the beginning. So make sure that you've got that. I like to put a sticky note on my piano that shows me exactly my chords and where I'm going to next, and then I don't even have to think. Makes things a lot easier. So make sure that you have practiced your left hand pattern and your right hand chords. And right now we are going to play both hands together. Now, if playing hands together is something that you struggle with, make sure that you look at part 1 of this video where I will get your hands together quickly. But if you have already gone through that and you feel like you're ready to go, we're going to do a root position chord in our right hand while we're doing our left hand pattern. And you can play the chord together like this, or you can arpeggiate it like that. Arpeggiation just means that you play any note at all in the chord, and you can go from the bottom to the top, or the top to the bottom, or the middle. Anything in there. All right, so let's try this whole pattern with hands together. Okay, once you have practiced that and you are comfortable with moving both hands along your chord progression, and you know what you're going to do, then feel free to move on to this next step, which is where we're going to have a 5-finger pattern. So for each one of these chords, when you play the stacked chord like this, you have 2 fingers that are not playing. We have our 2-finger and our 4-finger that are not playing. So if you play all of those, not at the same time, but individually, that is your 5-finger position for that chord. So let's look at the 5-finger positions for each one of our chords, and then we're going to put it hands together. So we have our A minor, then we move with our thumb down to the F, and that's your 5-finger position there, to your C, to E minor, to G, and then to A minor. So you get to decide now in what order that you play any of those 5 notes. You can play notes together, you can play them individually, any or all of them throughout our pattern here together. So now that we understand the 5-finger positions for our root position or our stacked chords, I now want to talk about inversions. Inversions is a word that scares a lot of people off, but it's not scary at all because it's really cool how it opens up the world of playing the piano. So everything here, it sounded pretty when we were doing that. However, it can be a little boring to always use those stacked chords every single time. So what we're going to do is I'm going to move down. This is middle C and move down here so that I don't run out of room. But let's look at our A minor chord. We have A, C, and E. No matter what order that we play A, C, and E in, it is still considered an A minor chord, and it's called an inversion. So if we take this A off the bottom and we place it at the top, it feels different in your hand. It's now C, E, and A, but it's still considered an A minor. We can do that one more time. So that's the first inversion. Let's figure out the second inversion where we take the C off the bottom and place that at the top. That also feels different in our hand now, and the pattern seems different. However, it's still an A minor. So let's look at all of the inversions to our different chords. We have A minor, first inversion, second inversion, and then we'll come back down. Okay, let's do the same thing for F. We'll be down here. And then we do our first inversion, second inversion, and then come back down to our C major. To our E minor. G major. And then we're back to our A. So make sure that you practice all of those different inversions in your right hand before we add our left hand to it. Now, this is a step that I don't usually add, but I think that it can be really great for moving your hand around. So what we're going to do is we're not going to do all of those inversions in order, but you can feel free to play some of them throughout the measures as we go. So it can look something like this. So you see how when you use inversions, you are able to move your hand around the piano. And so now what we're going to do is we are going to look at the 5-finger positions for all of the different inversions. And remember, all that you're doing when you're finding a 5-finger position for any chord or any inversion is just figuring out where those other 2 fingers are laying above. So for our A minor, we already started with this as our 5-finger position. But if we look at the different inversions, we can take the A off the bottom, put it at the top. We now have our 3 hovering above an F and our 4 hovering above a G. Okay, and then if we do, that's our first inversion. If we go to our second inversion, we have our 2 hovering above G, our 4 hovering above B. So we can do that for every single chord where we have our F, A, C, and then we put the F on top, and then we do another 5-finger position here, and then another 5-finger position here. What that does is it creates a whole bunch of different notes that we can choose from when we are playing our hands together. Let me give you an example of what this can sound like. You do not have to go quickly. You can do this as slowly as you need to. And if you need to spend extra time on each chord before moving on to the next chord, feel free to do that as well. Another way to add really great fills is to add any part of the scale. Now, we started with a scale and we just used 1 finger between A and A, going up like this, but now we're going to just really quickly talk about the proper scale fingering, because this is going to help you very much when you are wanting to fill between chords. You don't have to use the entire scale every time. However, if you just put part of a scale in, it will help you. Say if you're up here and you're in this inversion of the A minor scale and you wanted to get down to the C because you know that your hand is going to be coming down here to play C, this sounds like a really big gap. And so in order to get rid of that gap, we could do something like this. Or something like that, where we have run the length of a scale to get from one octave to another. So let's look quickly at the right-handed pattern of doing our scale up and coming back down. We have only 5 fingers, but we have to make it from A to A and back again. So the way that we do that is we do 1, 2, 3, and then we take your thumb and you're going to go under to that next note, which is a D. So then when you play it with your thumb, you're going to reposition the rest of your fingers and you'll notice that your 5 finger now is here on the A. So try that again. And then if you come back down, we're going to do it the same way, just reversed. We go all the way to the thumb, and then you're going to take your 3 finger and you're crossing over to that C. So you can try that a few times until it becomes really nice and fluid in your hand. And what might also help is if you do a 2-octave scale. So now we're going to not stop here at this A, but we're going to go all the way up to this A. And the way that we do that is simply continue on curling under our fingers. So we do the original, 1, 2, 3, under, reposition our hands, but we're not going to go all the way up to our pinky this time. So we go to our 4 fingers, so our 4 fingers on the G, and then we curl under again. And then here we are on A with our 1 again. So then all you have to do is keep doing the 1-octave scale up. Okay, so try that. Under, under. And then if you land on that A with your pinky, you know you did it correctly. And now we're going to come back down, and I'll show you the way that we do that for 2 octaves. We go from the A all the way down to the thumb, cross over with your 3 finger, and then we want our 4 finger to be here because we have to make it down to this A. So we cross over with 4. So let's try that one more time. So I would just run that a few times so you get very comfortable going between notes with your right hand, and that's going to help you with your fills. So then as you have a large gap like we talked about before, where we have this A and we're trying to get down here, we can reposition to the C or something like that. So when you put all of this together, it can now sound something like this.